What if I told you that there was a project on Algorand that has 2 different ways to earn more than I was expecting? We are going to look at the Alpha Arcade token and project today. I'm going to give you the results of my 6-month experiment. Now, channel members have been seeing this all along. They've been following along on this and many other of my experiments. So we're going to dive into this experiment today. You can see the results, and if you want to be a channel member, you can see the results in real time. So for those who are channel members, this is going to be nothing new. You've been following along all along, and you've seen all my other experiments. So go to the main channel page if you want to check that out, and you can join and become a channel member today. But for everyone else today, we are going to go through this experiment, and I think this has been one of the better projects on Algorand for my experiments. They usually go the other way. I'll be honest, most of my experiments don't pan out that well, and that's why I think it's really important to try these things out. So we're going to go through Alpha Arcade today. By the way, our videos are sponsored by Haystack. If you want to trade on Algorand, Haystack is the easiest way to do it, and you can get it right on your mobile phone. It's actually mobile optimized, and if you get it, you can start check it out in the link in my description, and you can start referring people and earning as well. So check that out. Also, we're brought to you by Marcus Aurelius, a meme coin and NFT project on the Algorand blockchain. These guys are spreading the word about stoicism, and I just think that's so cool. Great founders on both of these, by the way, so check out both of those in the description below. But let's get to today's experiment. And this is one of the reasons that I started making videos, is that I would try things out in crypto that I saw videos for, and the videos didn't cover any of the difficulties, any of the things that didn't work. They just weren't giving you a realistic picture of how things were actually working when you tried them. So that's what the spirit of this channel is. And like I said, channel members, you get to see week to week how these things are going. Everyone else, it's a little bit, I try to do them a 3-month or a 6-month. Definitely overdue for this Alpha Arcade one. So let's get into it. First off, what is Alpha Arcade? This is Alpha Arcade, and it is a prediction market built on the Algorand blockchain. So one fun way you can go through and you can find different categories and bet on them. If I go to upcoming, here's the football game, here's some NBA games, NHL games. I've been kind of doing some football prediction markets, and I was going to share my strategy today, but I'm not sure it's working. I guess I can give you a brief overview. My strategy generally is to find teams that are weighted 60% or more, and if they are, I've been taking those. It's been paying off pretty well, except unfortunately lately it hasn't been working, or I should say at least the last week it hasn't worked. I actually did worse last week. I actually lost money for the first time on this strategy, so we'll see. We're going to keep playing around with it. I'm going to try it out through the end of the season. I'm not 100% convinced, but this is the fun part. This is actually the platform. And if you go back to the main page, you can see they have all kinds of different prediction markets about crypto, sports, culture, economy, geopolitics. There's even some live streams. I've actually done some live streaming where you can create your own prediction market. And then see if, and then try to do something on stream. They'll actually feature your stream, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I even got one about Khamenei and whether he'll be out as supreme leader of Iran. Doesn't look like very likely. The nice thing about these too, even if you don't participate, these actually tend to work a lot better than polls. We found this in the last few elections, that the prediction markets were way more accurate than the polls. And I think that's because people have to put real money behind their predictions. So they need to be sure, and they usually will do that if they think they found information that confirms what their belief is. And one cool thing, especially if you do a number of these, if you pick a number of these, being wrong about some of them, you're not going to lose everything. You just might not make as much. Or you might make less than you spent, but you're not losing everything. It's not zero sum, which is kind of neat. So anyway, that is that. And so one of the things I want to mention too is that we're talking about the project, but they also have an Alpha Arcade token. And this is the token. You can see that's a pretty good price chart, and that is going to factor in later on. So keep an eye out for that. So by holding the Alpha token, you get a payout in US dollar coin. Now, why is that important? It's important because if you were just getting payout in the Alpha token, your incentive would be to sell it to bring in cash flow. And a lot of people would, not everybody would, but a lot of people would. And what you find is when the token is the reward, it tends to tank the price of the token. We said this, I've discovered this way back with Townstar, the game on Gala Games that I used to cover and play. They created a town token. People got paid out in town, and the town price crashed because that's what it is. It was just sell pressure, basically. So this is very smart. Now you're getting a payout in USDC. What does that mean? Where is that from? That is a cut of the fees that Alpha Arcade generates. So they were pretty low in the early days. I mean, you're getting less than a penny each payout, and it really grew to, you started to get like 2 cents, 1 cent. Now I still had $10. I still had $10, and then I switched in May to $100. So I kind of started using June, because June was the first full month of having $100. So you can see I was still getting like 2 cents per payout. Actually, let's switch over here. I'll show you guys the chart here. So in June, I got 14 cents, 14 and a half cents. That's from basically $100 worth of alpha. Then in July, I got 23 cents, and then that switched up to 22, then to 26, then to 33. And then in November, it was almost 50 cents. Now that seems like not a lot, but that went from being about a 1.8% APY, which is not very much, all the way to now we're looking at almost 6%, which is not bad. Like that's pretty close to staking. But the other thing I want you to take note of is this green line here on my chart. And I didn't make this in Google Sheets. I made this in Claude. I went from it being maybe $150 worth, and I did not buy this token for price appreciation, just to be clear. I went from about $150 to $450, just under $450 in November. At one point, it was up over $600. But even as it stands, that is a 4.5x, which is pretty darn good for starting with 100. And it went up to 450. Now, I did add a little bit along the way. I've started recently, starting last month, I started adding about $10 a month in alpha. So I'm going to keep adding to my experiment here. But this is really good. I mean, this is just holding the token. So you don't even have to participate in the Alpha Arcade platform, but you can still earn pretty well. And that, I was not expecting the price appreciation, to be honest. That was not even like part of my calculations. I was just curious. Well, if this thing like relatively holds value, and then you get these payouts, like that could be pretty cool. Now, like I said, it started off at about under 2%, which is not very much. I mean, that's not even keeping up with inflation, right? But then you start getting more recently, it's up to about 6%. So that's, like I said, that's about, if you hold on a ready pool, Algorand in a ready pool, you would get about that much. But then you're also doing better because, the actual alpha token is appreciating. And that's because of some of the tokenomics. And I wasn't going to get like super deep into the tokenomics in this video, but basically they set up a burn mechanism. There's very limited supply, and they've just done really good things with managing the price, which a lot of other tokens didn't. I think that's the big thing about Tiny on the Tiny Man platform, is that because it's a reward token, it's always going to crash in price. It's never going to hold value. It's actually amazing that it held the value that it did for as long as it did, but it's been crashing. Meanwhile, the alpha price just keeps taking up. Like I said, 432 is the latest in November. It's actually like 460 some last I checked. And you can see it here, so this is the price of alpha currently. And you can see here's back in May, it was less than a penny, maybe 4/10 of a penny. And it got up as high as 3 cents. Now kind of sitting at about 2 cents. We've seen this before, so I don't know. This could just continue to rise. But even if it doesn't, like the payouts are really good just for holding the token. Now, why are the payouts increasing? Well, that's because the platform is getting used more than it was, and they've been increasing in volume. The volume has been taking off, and the more people that use the Alpha Arcade prediction market, the more money you're going to get for holding the token. So the one other thing I'd point out is that you can see the payouts in November. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 payouts. There were 4 in October. Basically, you get paid out once every about a week or so. sometimes a little more often. So it's not super consistent on the actual timing of the payout. It kind of changes a little bit. They were talking about doing a daily payout, but they haven't. I guess they decided not to do that yet. Now this is the same. This is the same company, by the way, as Lofty AI, and what a difference! Because Lofty AI, I consider one of my failed experiments. I felt like it didn't work very well. I actually got into a little bit of an argument with the CEO of Lofty, and that's because I don't know. He claimed that basically it was like you had to treat it like actually owning a property. But at that point, like, well, what's the value then? Like, why do I want all the headaches of owning a property for such a tiny little payout? Like, it's just not worth it. I would rather just hold this token. I don't have to manage the Alpha Arcade platform, right? I just hold the token and I get a benefit from the payout. He actually said in his critique of my critique, well, maybe he should just do an REIT. And I'm like thinking, yeah, probably. Like, that's probably better for the vast majority of people, because unless you're going to put like a ton of money into this, I don't understand the point. Or just own a property and get all the upside. In this case, you're giving up upside. You're taking on all the headaches. It just doesn't make sense. But Alpha Arcade, I think, makes a lot of sense. I'm really happy with this experiment, and I wanted to share it with you guys because I want you guys to see one of the rare like wins on my DeFi experiments. I don't know if you would call it DeFi exactly. I guess it is. But one of my Algorand projects that's actually paid off, it has actually worked. I would say this is the best one. You can see actually the total payout in 6 months. So probably total is about 3.2% all taken together. But I think that's going to keep increasing because the payouts I only had 1 month where the payout actually dropped a little bit. It's been on a steady climb up because I think more and more people are using the platform. And I think that's going to mean that the payouts are actually going to keep increasing. I do like that it put that on there. I actually didn't even ask it to do that. I think that was really smart. All right, so that's my video on Alpha Arcade. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Are you guys holders of Alpha Arcade, or do you use the prediction market? Let me know in the comments below, and do share this video because I think my experiment videos just tend not to get as many views as a lot of my other videos. So definitely hit the like button and share it. I appreciate that very much. I hope you guys are having a good day. Let me know about your experience if you had it, and otherwise I will see you in the future.